Okay, hi. So see you again for the second meeting that we have. This is the second week. I'm going to continue my explanation about critical thinking what we have done last week. Now, we're going to go a little bit deeper how to start with reading critically. Uh, Critical reading, we're going to start with previewing. This is the objective of what I'm going to say in a few minutes ahead. Going to talk to you more on what is previewing or what previewing is, how to preview a text and a book. It's very short, brief, and then you have to practice later. Why previewing is important, and practice previewing with a book and a text that you have to do it in the task later. Yeah. So definition of previewing is looking before you read. So you just look at the text, flip through very quickly, 3 minutes or less, look at the diagram, look at the pictures and so on. Do not start reading. First, you have to look at the sense of the content. After you got the sense of the content, then you need to look at the title of the text. The title of the text, stop and think, what does it mean? Then you look at the author, who they are, if there are more than one author, or who he is or who she is. And then the publisher. Yeah. The publisher is very important. Is it a well-known publisher or publishing company? Or is it a local, or is it a publisher that specializes on something? Yeah. You got to know the credibility of the publisher. If you look at this one that we have discussed last week as well, then we look at how to study, practical tips. What you have to look at is the title, how to study. It's a practical tips. Yeah? So that's a very clear, specific title. Then you look at the author. John Cowan, ex-professor of learning development, the Open University. The publisher, very well-known publishing company, like Well. Now, will you read this book? From my point of view, this book is not for you because it's how to study practical tips for students. This is more for students of Open University, yeah, and also written by a professor. When it's written by a professor, probably it's going to be too theoretical, not practical, yeah. So if I were you, I will not read this book. How about this book? And when we look at this, then you have 5 Minds for the Future. Then that's the title. Then when you look at the writer here, Professor Howard Gardner, he is a professor of cognition and education. Then another explanation about this, it's from Harvard Graduate School of Education, that's the publisher. So when you look at this and look at Blackwell earlier, like this one, it's a different. This one is more local, from Harvard University Graduate School of Education. Will you read this book? If I were you, I will not read this book. This is not meant for you, engineering or scientists. This is for Graduate School of Education. Maybe students from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, maybe it's intended for them, but not for you. Again, now look at the text later here. When you flick a switch, what turns on the power? Look at the text very, very carefully. That's going to be in the assignment. And what I want you to do individually is look at the title, who are the, or who is the writer? Is there any publishing company? If not, then you have to think where this piece of writing is published. Who this writing for? You have to think about that, and then you have to write one sentence, one complete sentence, not phrases, but one complete sentence to summarize what is the text about. Then we're going to have the discussion later on. Thank you very much.